Hey folks, welcome to the 14th episode of the Dialog Project with Aditya Bhatia, Akash Janarkar, and Bharat Vidya. We have with us Aditya Ruia, who is an alumnus of BITS Pilani. He has co-founded Beco, an innovative FMCG startup in the sustainability space, and this has brought him in the Forbes 30 under 30 list. So welcome Aditya. It is a pleasure having you with us today.
Yeah, thanks, Aditya.
Let's start with a discussion right away. How did you come across the idea of founding Beco and selling sustainable FMCG products?
So this was actually back in the year 2018, where I was a part of a beach cleanup in Mumbai, and we used to actually host and organize and even participate in a lot of beach cleanups in and around the city. And at one of these cleanups, I'd seen a very old food wrapper. It didn't look very old. It looked something which was very, very bright, this bright orange in color, and it really got my attention. And my father was then. I asked him that have you seen this before? And he said it actually belongs to a chocolate which was discontinued in the 1990s. So the fact that this plastic wrapper had survived for so long made us feel very uneasy. We just felt that everything that we're throwing today is going to come back not just to haunt us but all our future generations as well.
Right.
And there has to be a better way. So the genesis of Beco was around the fact that can we help consumers make a more zero waste lifestyle? Like, can we not besides getting into the entire waste segregation and recycling, which I think a lot of good companies and NGOs are working on. I think if we can, just work on the consumer, make them more aware and help them choose a better and smarter and greener choice, I think that was still missing. That was a missing piece in this entire sort of an ecosystem. So uh, the the effort and the idea of going to a beach cleanup could then be taken to people's homes where they could then themselves contribute to helping save the environment. And I think that's where Beco came in. So, uh, particularly selling as sustainable FMCG products was around the fact that because we all are consuming day to day at such a increasing pace, the whole thought was, ki, can we make some delta to basically allow them to shift to these zero waste and sustainable solutions.
Right, right. That's awesome.
Got it.
Moving on, how did you, Anuj Ruia, and Akshay Varma come together to be co-founders of Beco, and what did each bring to the team?
So I think that's a very interesting question because, like how you guys met, we all know each other since childhood. Akshay and I were in IIT coaching together, and Anuj is my cousin. And we all have been sort of born and brought up together. So we have sort of seen, and the best part about building a team, whether it's a co-founding team or sort of a leadership team or the entire team, is that there's a high amount of skill and trust that goes on, and it's important to sort of sort of segregate and allocate each function to a particular individual so that there is complete ownership and each one is sort of dedicated to deliver on certain functions. So I think uh, for Anuj it was because he's been in the supply chain industry for a pretty long time. His ask to the table was around manufacturing, processing, supply chain, demand planning, forecasting, and everything that needed to support the supply side. Uh, I mainly looked at the demand side, so I looked at branding and marketing. How are we most technologically or digitally enabled? Making sure that we have the best team in place, and also looking after our e-commerce sales. And I think Akshay and his background allowed him to sort of do well on the offline channel side, since we are an omni-channel brand.
Right.
Looking after the offline sales, making sure our products are there on all shelves across not just Mumbai but other cities as well. Ensuring D2C sales, which is a direct to consumer, that product is doing as best as it could, and also looking after the finance and accounts. So I think that's how each three of us are sort of we just brought not just our skills but also in strength a lot of passion and sort of vigor to build this out, given that this market is crowded with these foreign incumbents like HUL or PNG.
Right, right, right. It is actually very important that all the co-founders like complement each other, right? So moving on, how was your experience in bootstrapping Beco and subsequently raising funds for it?
I think bootstrapping is very essential to be able to build a healthy, sustainable business. Purely because the lack of capital, or I would say the limited capital, teaches you a lot in terms of not just financial discipline, but also how you need to manage funds, cash flow, and a couple of other things. I think bootstrapping also tells you what matters more and what matters less. And I think the time to understand that is pretty quick when you're bootstrapping, because you're technically working with your own capital and you want to be as efficient and as thoughtful as possible. But also, I think raising funds has its own flavor. And, I think it should primarily be used for growth capital once you figure out that product market fit. So, my understanding always with any startup is that, you sort of work with your own capital till you figure out your product market fit, and then you raise funds for growth, because I think that's a much, much more powerful story to tell, not just for your investors, but also for your customers.
Got it. Very inspiring.
Got it. So, moving on, could you please describe your journey from like testing your products to taking them to the market?
No, so I think that's been very interesting for us, because we had a large community of beach cleaners who almost a community of about 4 to 5,000 members strong. That allowed us to quickly test and get feedback on what we were building. And it's very easy for entrepreneurs just like yourselves to sort of tend to believe that this is working out because it's giving you so and so numbers. But I think when you truly ask the customer whether it's made some sort of a delta in or shift in how they have been using or buying some of these products, not just for FMCG, but that's true for tech products as well. If that delta or that shift does not exist, I don't think that your product will, stand its ground, given that there'll be a lot of competition going forward. So I think we initially tested it out with our beach cleaner community, and that was very humbling and exciting at the same time. And I think once we really found out of our multiple products that which one is sort of working, and what is really building the shift in the consumer's life, is I think then we started taking them to market. So I think initially the easiest was to sort of list on yourselves to the marketplaces and sell there. So Amazon, Flipkart, Big Basket, and all of these channels. But I think it really became a very challenging and exciting when we went to the offline channels, tried selling in across retail stores, because there is a certain way that these stores operate, and it's not an open for all strategy like how the marketplaces are. And eventually, I think we launched our D2C platform the last, where we had clear insights on how the consumer was buying and what exactly does he need. So we realized that a lot of these e-commerce channels are sending our products in plastic based packaging, which didn't resonate with the customers a lot. So I think our D2C experience was built from the fact that we wanted to build a plastic free experience for our consumers.
Okay. Okay. That's perfect. So continuing on similar lines, so how did you figure the supply chain for distributing the Beco products?
So I think that's where Anuj came in. He has led supply chain for a large MNC in US, and
Okay.
I think supply chain is very essential, because looking at today's scenario as well, where the global sort of landscape is changing, there are supply chain disruptions all around. I think just figuring out, working with vendor partners, looking at the best strategy to sort of optimize on a supply chain, because it adds to a significant amount of cost to the product. And if you do this well, I think you can save a lot of cost and time in the long run. And for any FMCG company, I think supply chain has been a primary driver of not just growth, but even competitive advantage as well. So um, our thought process, our main thought process in supply chain was around how do we enable this to become the cleanest and the greenest, and also we optimize it for the customer so that they don't have to pay that extra cost to buy these products, and eventually that sort of helps the brand grow as well. So looking at different modes of transport, to how do we optimize on our pickups and drops, to working with different vendors and innovating with them to ensure that from procurement to supply, how do we ensure that the products are well distributed and also the costs are kept at its lowest.
Okay. Okay. So like coming on, like could you share your experience in growth and marketing for sustainable FMCG?
I think that's a very interesting question because actually India is not is not that evolved as it is in the West. India is not evolved as it is in the West to adopt these sustainable products or sustainable lifestyle in general. And I think India still, is still in the developing and growing pretty fast, but still developing stage where people are more concerned on what's in it for me. And I think that's been a very big learning, which has taken more than just a few months to sort of understand that people are more, sort of careful of how effective the product is rather than how clean or green the product is. So there is a certain market which sort of caters to, oh, if you're green, then I will use it. But the normal thought process is that if I'm buying clean and green products, then I'm going to pay a very big premium, or the products won't be as effective as the commonly used chemicals that we see around us today. So ensuring that in all our growth and marketing channels, we are communicating the effectiveness of the product, which is far superior than anything that you would see out there, and also that how we can make sure that while in our growth and marketing, we are not too aggressive in just pitching sustainability, but also the other use cases of the products as well. So I think sustainability is more of the underlying aspect of the product rather than just purely the only USP or selling point to the customer.
Okay. Yeah. Makes sense.
So, talking on similar lines about Indian consumers getting adapted to the product, I wanted to ask you about any obstacles or challenges you might have faced in your journey at Beco, and what were your major learnings from them?
So I think we've never built an FMCG brand before, and we don't have that sort of experience to, even say that, oh, we know this works and this does not. But the best sort of strategy for newcomers like us or anyone in the startup, the reason why young entrepreneurs are doing so well and most of them are sort of understanding is because everyone's always working customer first. So you're always going back to the customer, asking them, hey, what is it that you like or you don't like, and then you try to read between the lines on what they're actually saying versus what they actually mean to say, and that's becoming the primary source of learning, and eventually then you sort of figure out. So I think the challenge was that I think that not just a challenge, it was also an opportunity and a boon for us because we were inexperienced to sort of know what really works in this market. So we came on with an open book saying that okay, we know that we don't know, but let's figure it out and let's work with the customers and our early adopters first and to see what's really working and what's really going to disrupt this industry. So we came up with I think another challenge is that for the entrepreneur, and this is primarily, there's nothing to do with the market, to be very honest. The primary challenge is to understand, is to truly build the right mindset while you're sort of building a company or a brand. Is that you tend to get biased to believe that the customer feels the way you do or thinks the way you do, but actually the experience is quite different. So when you go and you actually observe how customers are using a product is when you get the most out of insights because that's when you truly see on how the products are being used. So the challenge is always around, okay, I know this works, but how do you validate at all times? How do you make sure that that innovation cycle is ongoing and your iteration cycle is also ongoing? So we always call ourselves work in progress, and that's always going to be true. I think even for big companies like Amazon call themselves work in progress because the customer needs are changing almost every other day, and to be able to cater to that, with the evolving need, you need to sort of be always keep your eyes and ears open and be on the ground to constantly take that feedback and take in those insights. So I think the role of data has become more and more important. And I think the challenge is early entrepreneurs, because you're very less on resources. You don't have the composite team to sort of build out. You don't have the capital to build out. The challenge that we also faced was that how do we truly know and learn from how the customer is behaving without really assuming much of it. So today you guys might assume that, Dialog Project would have this certain customer base or this TG, and they like listening to something, but you really haven't experimented to what they also might like, given that you've already had your experience with this sort of a podcast or videos, right? So truly to understand beyond what the customer is really buying today, or what is the customer is listening into today, to what they actually might prefer doing, and then you sort of iterate and see whether that fits with your vision and goal as well. So I think that like two sorts of companies, one who truly is like visionary, where like Apple, who sort of dictates ki we know how the customer would want, and these are those big bold bets that people make. And I think the other way to sort of do it is to build it like steadily, and sort of at each point understand what the customer is doing. And I think it's a mixture of both. So you come up with a big bold vision and say ki, so for Beco, the vision is to disrupt home care, and and we've seen so many brands in the health and beauty space in personal care, but home care has been largely an unignored category, and also the innovation in this category hasn't existed for more than 2 decades or so. So there is a lot of work that needs to be done, and I think we are the ones who are going to take that, do the heavy lifting for the category, and sort of establish, not just our brand, but for future brands as well, to lead a path of how you can disrupt home care, which is more low involvement than anyone else. Because that's the third challenge we face, that the category itself was very low involvement. So today, if I want to sell you a hair care or a skincare product, you would be, or a face wash, you would be much more keen. If I have to sell you a food product, you would already know what's in the ingredients, how the ingredients are going to help you, how gluten free, is a benefit. But for home care, there are a lot of education that needs to be done on what actually is the right ingredients, and what really constitutes safe for you and your family. So I think just the low involvement, or the less involvement of the category itself, poses a big challenge. But it's also a great opportunity, because then you're constantly learning and developing faster than the others at every point.
Okay, understood. So as you talked about aligning the company's vision with what the customer wants, what is the plan ahead you have in mind for Beco?
So right now our larger goal, Akash, is to sort of disrupt home care largely. I think that really excites us, because our houses are filled with Harpics and Lysols, but we know that there are better products out there. Just simply, as from your tissue paper on the table to the garbage bags where you throw your products, to bamboo toothbrushes, we know that there's innovation that's possible and happening on each category. So for us to be able to disrupt home care and truly look at each category at a time, and sort of build different innovative solutions for those categories, is really exciting. I think over the next 3 years, we aim to sort of build a 500 crore revenue business. And I think that's very doable, given that the market size is so large and the competitive landscape is fairly not up to, or at least the innovation cycle for the consumer. So the consumer is still underserved. And we feel that Indian consumer is aspiring for better products and better experiences. And that's what Beco wants to do.
Wow,
Awesome.
quite inspiring.
So Aditya, with this, we have come to the end of our video. So thank you for being a part of our discussion. We are sure many aspiring entrepreneurs will be inspired with this story. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks, Arya. Thanks, Akash. Thanks, Aditya.
Hey folks, thank you for watching our video.
Please like and share this video and subscribe to our YouTube channel.
Also, guys, please don't forget to mention your views in the comment section below, and see you soon with our next video.